pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Well, sorry to stop all the fun with this morning, all the networking. There's a lot of energy in the room. That's a good thing. Everybody's enjoying the nice cool weather today. So thank you for joining. Today is Thursday, April 12th, 2018 for the TDC VCB board meeting this morning. But could do the roll call now at this time? Here. Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
Here. Here. Here. Great, thank you. And I'd like to welcome our new member this morning, Holly Smith, Councilwoman from Sanibel, representing the city of Sanibel. So thank you for being here. Look forward to working with you the next few years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our first presentation this morning is to the guest first participants earning the American Hotel and Lodging Education Institute Certified Guest Professional Awards this morning. So, Cameron, would you like to join me?
Yes.
Good morning. It's an honor and pleasure to be here to be able to present to you the newest Certified Guest Service Professionals. I would like to make sure that I definitely thank the community. Without your support and you continuing to host us, we would not be as successful as we are. We're one of the first destinations to partner with the American Hotel Lodging Education Institute, allowing these hospitality professionals to become internationally certified guest service professionals, continuing to grow in our destination, making our goal to be the friendliest destination in the world. So thank you for that. We have certified 34 certified guest service professionals since our last presentation, giving us a total of 588 certified guest service professionals in our destination. That is definitely an honor, and thank you again to all the participants for dedicating their time and committing to all the customer service training modules. At this time, I'm going to call you up. When I call your name, please come up to the front to receive your certificate and your pin. All right, so starting off, Bailey's General Store, Richard Johnson. Bonita Springs Chamber of Commerce, Don Brewer. Carlos Stanisi, Brianne Winter. Edison and Ford Winter Estates, Sherry Musk. J.N. Dean Darling, National Wildlife Refuge, Amanda Brooks. From Lark, we have Angela Katz. From Lee County Solid Waste, we have Sahara Martinez. From Lee County Parks and Recreation, we have Kathy Cahill. Tony Cole. From Lee County Port Authority, we have Jennifer Wilson. From the Lee County Visitor and Convention Bureau, we have Tommy Castle. Shelley Krantz. Francesca Donlin. Megan Harris. Jim Miller. And Judy Miller. From the Outrigger Beach Resort, we have Richard Emmons. We have Linda Exum. And we have Chelsea Swiger. Okay, my apologies. Chelsea, unfortunately, was not able to make it. From From our Pink Shell Beach Resort and Marina, we have Veronica Caruti. We have Ashley Okerstrom. From Sandalwood Condominium, we have Grace De Lottenville. And that concludes our presentation, and thank you again for all of our certified guest service professionals.
Well, congratulations to all the participants and great smiling faces that will meet our future guests coming here in our region. Next, we'll have to have approval of the February 8, 2018 TDC minutes.
So move.
Do we have a motion? Second. There's a second. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion carries. Move on to public comment. At this time, any public comment from the audience? Yes, sir. Come to the podium.
Yes, good morning. I'd like to extend my greetings and respect to the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel Tourist Development Council and present on behalf of a future agenda item a proposed kayak ramp in the city of Cape Coral. I believe this will be on your agenda very soon. My name is Kenneth Weiss. I'm a board member of the Parks Committee Chair of the Northwest Cape Coral Neighborhood Association and the Northwest Cape Coral Foundation. I'd also like to introduce Doug Kidd, who's been very active with the waterway and estuary matters in Northwest Cape Coral, and Dennis Catalano, who's the past president of the Northwest Neighborhood Association. Both are board members of the Northwest Foundation. We're here today on behalf of the Cape Coral Parks and Recreation Department, which requested that we come down here today and speak on behalf of their submission that you will see shortly to secure funding for a kayak ramp to provide public access in Northwest Cape Coral. This would provide access to the interconnected tidal creeks and enable access to an area for outdoor enthusiasts. It's virtually inaccessible to the public at the present time. A segment of the Great Calusa Blue Way canoe and kayak trail goes through this area, and the proposed kayak ramp would provide access to this well-known trail. We're going to do two very brief presentations. I know you are all very busy. Doug Kidd will present on the access. Dennis will present on kayak use to the area. The entire estuary in the Northwest Cape Coral is a tremendous area for potential tourism and development for those with the vision to see it. Thank you.
Good morning. As Ken said, I'm Doug Kidd with the Northwest Cape Coral Foundation. I'd like to talk to you today about the potential of Northwest Cape Coral. Northwest Cape Coral, if we were to reimagine it, can be a gateway community to all of Charlotte Harbor and the Gulf Islands. And, you know, taking a step back a little bit from just a simple kayak launch ramp, that's what we're about creating a viable community, a sustainable community up in the Northwest Cape Coral with respect and consideration of our valuable estuary in Northwest Cape Coral. What I'm holding here, and it's hard to see, I'm sure, at your distances, but this is all of Northwest Cape Coral from approximately Kismet Parkway almost all the way to Burnt Store Marina, just at the Lee-Charlotte County line. And the Cape, Northwest Cape, is probably the most underutilized coastal residential real estate in all of Lee County, perhaps all of Southwest Florida. Great potential for creating a linkage between our community and the tourist guests that we have seasonally through there, and the estuary to the west. This is about 5,000 acre portion of the Charlotte Harbor Park Reserve that adjoins Northwest Cape Coral Residential. We've got the mangrove fringe meeting the urban fringe, and we're very concerned about how those two interact over the years. But with that in mind, we would like to start thinking more of a connection to the Blueway in the northwest region of Cape Coral and how we access that particular Blueway. There are very few access points north of Serena Vista Park. In fact, there are none, except a small one at Tropicana. But from Kismet Parkway north, there's nothing until you get up toward a little portion of Durden Creek up here at the northern part of the map. With that, I'll introduce Dennis, and he can talk a little bit more about the kayaks.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, let me put that down. As Ken said and Doug said, I'm Dennis Catalano, past president of the Northwest Neighborhood Association with over 1,000 members. And this area has great potential, and it's not really being used by the public. Great tourist potential for kayak tourisms. Being a kayaker myself, and that's why they invited me to come, it really is a marvelous area. This is 5,000 acres of mangrove forest and shoreline that the only access points are way to the south, near Serena Vista Park and Tropicana Parkway. There are none for the rest of this distance. It's about 8 miles long. And so the purpose of us being here is to see if we can't get some help or some grants to get access to this area with a kayak launch. But it's a much bigger issue than that. I mean, actually the city of Cape Coral owns 19 acres up here, and this whole mangrove forest is just exquisite. So tourism would be a great deal of interest in tourism in this area through some kayak businesses that are down in Matlacha. But you can't paddle 8 miles to get to this, so that's why a launch, a couple launches in the area would really be beneficial. So, as when I was president, as my wife said, Dennis, you sounded really strange when you said it's the final frontier, but this is the final frontier of Cape Coral right here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comment this time? Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Sputoni, and I'm with the Edison and Ford Winter Estates, and I'm here with a different hat today. I'm here to talk about the Chrysalis Awards, which will be next Thursday at the newly renovated Westin Hotel in Cape Coral, and I hope that you all will come and join us. Of course, it celebrates businesses and tourism. We have tables available. We have sponsorships available. We have individual seats, and the trade show is just absolutely a great way to promote your business. So I hope you all will join us. There's some forms up at the table, and hope to see you next Thursday. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other public comment?
Good morning. Jack Carver with the Florida RV Trade Association. Just to mention to Council that we will be staging our 23rd annual RV Super Saver Show next week at the Lee County Sports Complex. I have 7 dealers, hundreds of units, and it'll be a great time. It's free admission, free parking. If anybody's interested in the RV lifestyle, it's a time to come out and see what's going on.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Okay, we'll close public comment and go to municipalities to be heard. Any municipality who would like to be heard? Judy's not here. Actually, I saw Judy yesterday, but she's not here today. Okay. She's there. Where's she at? Oh, there she is. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Judy. I couldn't see you back there. Okay, we'll move on to Tamara, report of the Executive Director.
Okay, before I get started, I want to take the time to introduce 2 new VCB folks to you. First is Jennifer Walla, our new sales coordinator.
Please stand.
Jen will be helping us with travel agents. She comes to us with 12 years of hospitality experience, including working at various restaurants and hotels in Lee County. Just prior to joining us, she was the Revenue Sales System Analyst at the Westin in Cape Coral. So welcome to Jen. We're very excited to have her here. I will point out that Jen has been nominated 8 times for the Elaine McLaughlin Outstanding Hospitality Service Awards, the E Awards. So Jen is a superstar, and we're really happy to have her on our team. I also want to introduce Mackenzie Lacko. She's our new marketing intern, and I think she's behind the podium. Oh, wait, she moved over here. Okay. Mackenzie is here now. Mackenzie is a student at FGCU, and she has been helping us with Island Hopper Songwriter Fest. She's a junior at FGCU majoring in marketing with a minor in digital media design, so we're super happy to have her here. She grew up on Anna Maria Island and is a graduate of Manatee High School in Bradenton, and we're really happy to have her on our team as well. So. All right, bed tax report. Since we didn't have a meeting last month, I have January and for you. So in January, bed tax collection came in at $4.5 million, up 9.6%. In February, $5.3 million, up 11.4%. So significant growth. So far this fiscal year, we have collected $19 million, and that is an 11% increase over last year. So think of that as nearly $2 million extra dollars in the coffer. Really fantastic news. STAR report, of course, reflects those same very good numbers, 5% increase in occupancy in both January and February. You'll see ADR in January was up 7.6% to almost $163. For February, $217 was the average daily rate, 8.6% increase, and so of course the RevPAR for the 2 months, 13% for January and 14% for February. So very, very positive report there. Similarly, traffic at the airport is up. January up 8.2%, just under 1 million passengers. And in February, I think I heard the report, this was one of the largest Februarys on record, over 1 million passengers at the airport. So really fantastic news there as well. Very excited to see growth there. Of course, for the year, that's a 9.8% increase, and that's calendar year. Okay. Now I will ask Jill and Jill first, and then Stephanie to give us the sales report.
Good morning, Council. I'm Jill Vance, Director of Sales with the VCB, and I will be going over our sales activities. So here's a recap of the first 6 months of this fiscal year's sales goals. The first goal is to increase by 5%, meeting RFP sent to our hotel partners. And as you can see, we need to average about 126 per quarter to be on pace to attain this goal. And we did end March behind pace, but this is still 17 leads ahead of the same time last year. And as you will see in the next goal, we have quality leads over quantity. So the next goal is to increase by 4% group meeting room nights booked by our hotel partners from the leads that we sent them. And we need to average 9,090 per quarter and in order to attain this goal. And as you can see, we are ahead of pace by over 11,000 room nights booked. The next goal is to host 125 travel professionals, both domestic and international, here in the destination through familiarization and site tours. We need to average 30 travel professionals per quarter, and we are ahead of pace by 6. The next goal is for the sales team to hold 25 client events. We need to average 6 per quarter, and we are ahead of pace for this goal as well. And the final goal is to increase by 15% the number of wedding leads sent. And as most of you know, we have been behind pace for this goal for quite some time. However, I'm happy to say that we have turned a corner. I believe with all the engagements that occurred over the holidays in conjunction with our marketing team's additional efforts, We are back on track to achieve this goal. VCB on the road. So here are just a couple of our group meeting sales teams activities for last quarter. Candace attended the American Bus Association show where there are over 2,000 group tour operators in attendance, and she's already sent 9 RFPs as a direct result of that show. And also at the end, there's a picture of Jerry with some of the participants of the CES CEO Midwinter Conference. That was held right here in Lake County at the Westin. And this was a great opportunity to showcase what the destination has to offer to 60 CEOs of scientific and engineering associations. And Jerry even sent an RFP before the event concluded. They were so impressed with the destination. And that meeting has already contracted with one of our hotel partners for September of this year. Next are just a couple highlights from our consumer and travel agent teams activities. We attended the New York Times travel show in the Visit Florida booth, along with 2 hotel partners, and this consumer show attracted over 30,000 travel-focused consumers. And we also attended 2 travel and adventure shows. One was in Los Angeles, and this was in our efforts to grow the West Market, and there were about 33,000 consumers that attended that. And the other was in Chicago, where despite the record-breaking snowfall, 23,000 consumers still attended that show. And next is our upcoming activities for the domestic sales team. And just to point out a few for April, we'll be attending the Incentive Travel Exchange along with 2 hotel partners. And this is our second year attending this show, so it's a relatively new show for us. There'll be about 3,500 corporate incentive meeting planners there, and our tropical destination is a perfect fit for incentive market, which involves companies looking to reward their top producers with an incentive trip. I also want to point out that Helms-Briscoe is having their annual business conference. We will be attending that 2-day reverse trade show, and for those of you who don't know, Helms-Briscoe is a third party with about 1,300 meeting planners. And this is a great show. It sells out very quickly, and last year we sent 33 leads to our hotel partners from this show. And the last thing I want to point out for April is we will be attending the East Coast Florida Travel Agent Sales Mission, where there will be 5 industry partners to form 3 teams, and we will make sales calls on travel agencies and AAA offices along the east coast of Florida, all the way from West Palm Beach to Miami. And we hope to reach at least 60 travel agencies. And then for May, just to highlight a couple, Aaron Congregane will be hosting a client event, attending an MPI event, and also making sales calls on corporate and association meeting planners in Atlanta. And then we're also going to the JetBlue Vacation Call Center in Orlando. We have the opportunity to conduct classroom-style training on the destination, and what's nice is they'll even be live streaming in their other call center from Salt Lake City, so we have an opportunity to train them as well. And finally, I just want to point out that both Jerry and Betsy will be conducting meeting planner sales missions in various cities in New Jersey and Ohio, and this is in our effort to mine new corporate business. Are there any questions before I turn it over to Stephanie, who will update you on our international activity?
Thank you.
Good morning, Council. For the record, my name is Stephanie Zinke. I'm the International Sales Manager here at the VCB. And as Joe mentioned, I will give you a brief recap of what we've been doing internationally over the past months. For January, we focus on trade meetings to update product managers from our key international tour operators as well as media on what is happening, what is new, and what's to come in our destination. And we did that by attending Florida Huddle in Fort Lauderdale, where we had 43 appointments. We also attended the Iceland Air Mid-Atlantic Trade Show held in Reykjavik, Iceland, in order to meet with travel agents from 6 different countries, including the Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, Germany, Spain, and France. And just as a background information, because sometimes people ask me, why are we going after the Icelandic market? We're not. We're doing this because Iceland Air sponsors the show, and they chose to do it in Iceland because it's midway between Europe and the US, so it's easier for both suppliers and buyers from both sides to meet. Also that you know, Iceland Air is currently servicing 2 major airports here in Florida, Tampa and Orlando. And what they do is they connect through their hub in Reykjavik to 29 cities throughout Europe. So it's a great opportunity for us to build that partnership and use that route as well to bring in more people into the state of Florida. We also hosted the Visit Florida Germany Fam Post Huddle. Thank you for everybody in the room, all the partners who made this possible, especially it being in January, which is not an easy month to get to make this happen. For February, since both January and February are prime booking months for our European visitors, we were very active on the ground, and we covered a lot of consumer shows from Germany to Scandinavia, Ireland, and Canada, just to make sure that we stay top of mind when it comes to the summer and fall booking vacation planning season. In March, the main highlight was definitely ITB, which we attended in Berlin. We had over 44 meetings with tour operators, media, online travel agencies, as well as airlines. And speaking of airlines, one of our main focus was, of course, our new air service into RSW and a new partnership with Eurowings. The VCB sponsored the Classic Visit Florida Pan Am event on the Thursday night during ITB, together with Eurowings, to introduce not only the new service, but also our destination to over 200 travel professionals and media in Germany. Oh, I keep doing that, sorry. After ITB, Tamara and I traveled to Munich to collaborate again with Eurowings to host a media event to 45 journalists and travel writers to introduce the new nonstop service, because Munich is one of the newer cities to service RSW nonstop. We also had special guest Dr. Dirk Rohrbach, who recently paddled the Great Calusa Blue Way as one of his stops, and actually it was his only stop in the entire state of Florida for his current project to kayak across all of the 50 states of the United States. So he spoke about his experience here and what truly makes us unique. Up next, and looking ahead, and I apologize, the first one kind of overlapped a little bit. I just returned from Brazil last week, where we attended WTM Latin America, which is the leading global event for the entire Latin American travel industry. In addition to the 3 days of trade shows where we had appointments, we partnered with Visit Florida to host a media breakfast for 25 travel writers and bloggers. Also, you can see here on this slide for the remainder of the months, there's a strong push in Canada. We're covering both consumer as well as trade events in partnership with Air Canada and WestJet. Currently in progress, actually finalizing today, we're doing our Scandinavia sales mission to 3 different cities and 3 countries. In May, you can see we'll be heading to Denver together with 4 of our hotel partners to attend IPW, also known as the International Powwow, where we currently have 150 appointments scheduled. And really, this concludes my part of the presentation. If you see anything on the slides, if you have any questions about events or upcoming activities, please do not hesitate to reach out. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'd like to invite Judy Durant up to give you the Visitor Services Report.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to speak a few brief moments to you and give you a little bit of information about what's happening in visitor services these past 2 or 3 months. It's been a very busy season. I think you'll agree that the statistics slide that you see in front of you, already nearly 85 visitors directly assisted. We think that's a great number. Our 138 volunteers are very, very active and doing a lot of outreach not only to our visitors but our local residents, which is hugely, hugely important. On this particular slide, I just want to point out a couple of quick things. On the accommodation side, this always is the most requested information, but what's really exciting is these 3 particular accommodations. We've had a lot of storms, a lot of unexpected cancellations and delays, all related to weather and things like that. And these properties not only stepped up, but provided some substantial support to our visitors during this time frame, and I want to personally thank them because they really kind of went beyond what we expected. In this particular area, community and partner support, just want to point out, if you did not see our volunteer tourism ambassadors at the spring training games, they were there. We had just dozens and dozens of games dozens of volunteers. These folks were there morning and evening, really supporting the community, and we're very proud of what they've done to support tourism as well as our community. And of course, we also, one of the cool things we did was we attended the Operation Open Arms presentation by Congressman Rooney. I have to tell you that Captain Bunch was one of the few, I think less than 30 people nationally that received the Navy Distinguished Public Service Award recognition, which is pretty darn significant. And then as far as our look ahead, of course, we have this amazing Chrysalis Awards coming up that Lisa mentioned, so please plan to come if you have not made your plans yet. There's lots of time to do that. And then we have a Lee County Travel Rally on May 1st. Got some cool things to tell you about that. We have some forms and information on the table. That's going to be a great event. We have lots of tourism races planned, so please come. Bring your employees, bring your families, and just come have a good time. In fact, I just wanted to tell you there's a couple of surprises, which I'm not going to say a word about, but it's going to be really cool. Thank you.
All right. Francesca Donlan, please, for the Public Relations Report.
Good morning, everyone. Francesca Donlan, Communications Director. I want to run by the highlights of the last quarter for the communications team. So we've had some exciting adventures along the way, so let me talk about those. What we're really happy about is our impressions. So just to quickly tell you what that is, just basically the way I think about it is just an eyeball. So our goal is to get over 3 billion for the year, and in this quarter we got 1.3 billion impressions. So we're really, really proud of that, and I'll explain why we got so many in the following slides. But first thing I wanted to show you is sort of the educational piece of my presentation. We do some research about travel trends, what's hot, what consumers want to do, and that changes every year, and that's important to us because we want to create itineraries with our journalists so that we can highlight some of the trends. So as you can see, adventure transformational travel is big. People don't just want to go on vacation to lie on the beach anymore. They want to change their selves and their spiritual transformation. So we actually have a group going learning how to sail next week. And that's transformational. But we follow a lot of these themes as we bring our journalists here. This is why, a big part of why we have over 1.3 billion impressions. So I just want to talk about these because it's really fun when an article gets written and then everybody wants to publish it. So the big jackpot winner on this list is Norman Love because MSN wrote a story about the best chocolate shop in every state. So then every state publishes it because they've got a chocolate shop in their state. So Norman Love won for Florida, and he essentially won for us as well because we had this story in so many publications across the country. The same with Randy Wainwright. We created an itinerary to take a couple journalists to places that were featured in his books, like Cabbage Key and Usepa. And that story got picked up, and that story got syndicated. So that was really exciting. And then Southern Living, You Owe Us Want to Get in Southern Living, and that story also was syndicated. So that's when we get really excited when a story gets picked up like that, because that generates eyeballs, and that's what we're all about. This international slide is just to show you that we have our pulse on the international media trends as well. And we've got contractors in Canada, UK, Germany, Scandinavia, and they're working hard with international journalists, and they're bringing them here, and we're generating a lot of publications from those areas. Recent initiatives. I'll just talk about a couple of these. Dr. Dirk, as Stephanie mentioned, he was here and he was international, so it was sort of like a twofer. He fell madly in love with our area, paddled the Calusa Blue Way. Tony Minch from Midwest Living Magazine did the multi-generational travel, brought his mom. We got him some tickets to Fenway. We took him to Fine Folk Pizza. If you haven't been there, it's near JetBlue. They teach you how to throw the pizza up in the air and catch it. So that was thrilling. And then Charles Schultz, CBS Sunday Morning, he came, stayed at Tween, had a wonderful time, went to Ding Darling, did all the wildlife, loved it, thrilled, happy as a clam. And when that airs, I'll let you know, but we're really excited about that. Everybody wants to be on CBS Sunday Morning. Recently, I had the pleasure to go to New York City. Went to the New York Times Travel Show, and if you've never been to something like that, it's basically the world under a roof. It's like Florida has a piece of it. We had a a place in there as well. But it's like you walk by Jamaica and Barbados and kids from New Hampshire at a camp doing s'mores, and then you know, it's huge. It's everyone trying to get a consumer facing, and there's media too, which is why I was there. But the day before I went to try out media, and that's like speed dating. So you have top journalists around the country, and they sit in front of you for 15 minutes, and you decide if you like them, and they decide if they like you, and what they're talking about. So a couple of the journalists actually asked me, when are you coming back? Because I'll show you in a minute, we go to publishing houses once a year. Jackie Parker's going to do that, and we bring like chocolates and sunshine, and we make those dark publishing houses in New York City fill up the sunshine. I was just at the Boston Fenway event, which is really exciting because we have such a great relationship with JetBlue that once a year they allow us to use a suite, and I fill it up with half journalists, and then we fill it up with half meeting planners. So it's a sales and communications event, joint event. But in this particular one, what was fun about it, besides it was 34 degrees, it was the coldest one I've ever been to, but one of the journalists who writes for Boston Globe and national publications and does travel guides, she used her ticket to come in a little bit earlier because recently she had just done The Secrets of Fenway, and she became friends with the groundskeeper. And so she surprised her husband, who is a hardcore Boston Red Sox, born and bred fan. The groundskeeper let him touch the pitcher's mound. So he could hardly talk the rest of the time. He was so excited. And then another journalist told me that 3 years ago, her father passed away, and they jumped the fence before a game and sprinkled his ashes on third base. And they also got in huge trouble, so don't do that. But I'm telling you that because there's such a rich fabric of love for the Red Sox, and we get a piece of that here. And so we capitalize on that relationship with JetBlue and Fenway, and they just can't wait to come here, and they're just so excited to be at this event, and we just appreciate the opportunity to do that every year. And then this is one of my favorite pages because this is what money can't buy. This is what you just are lucky to work hard and get on. And these are the lists that everyone loves and everybody wants to be the best. The 7 best, the 7 greatest. And the one that I'm particularly proud of on this list is the 33 tastemakers, the Sway, because they featured 2 of our chefs, local chefs at Purple Spoon, Christina and Sweet Melissa at Melissa's Cafe, and talked about women, you know, how hard it is to be a woman in the culinary world. So it was a beautiful feature, and we got some nice real estate on that. And then, of course, I'm always happy to see Island Topper Songwriter Fest because we're trying to make that bigger and better, and you can never go wrong to be on the Travel Channel. So look ahead quickly. This looks like a lot because we're doing a lot, but just quickly, Jackie Parker is going to go to New York City to do those publishing houses and bring sunshine into those cold, rainy, New York intense folks' lives. She's going to Southern Living, CNN Travel. She's also doing a Visit Florida Media mission with some other Florida groups. Let's see, Megan Contreras is going to IPW, which is a huge opportunity in Denver to talk to our international media. And then U.S. press trip with National Geographic. We're actually having a photographer from National Geographic come here. We have 8 journalists coming because they're so excited, big ones, as you can see, like Men's Journal, Travel Channel, Chicago Daily Herald. So they're going to go to Ding and the Back Bay, and they're going to be taught how to take beautiful pictures, and then they're going to take beautiful pictures of our area. So it's a huge win-win for us. And then SATW Eastern Conference is coming up in June, and you are going to hear a lot about it because I've probably called half of you in this room about it. We're going to have 75 media here. They're staying at the Westin, and they're going to see every crook and cranny of this destination. So stay tuned for that, but we're really excited to host them. And then lastly, we are going to do an Island Hopper pop-up. We're going to do that in Nashville. We're going to get some songwriters from Nashville who come here, singer-songwriters, and perform there. And we're going to do private media, and we're going to generate some more interest and love in Island Hopper, which is growing by leaps and bounds. And that sums up communications. Thank you.
Nancy McPhee is going to give us an update on beach and shoreline.
Good morning and thank you. I'm here to give you an update on the Beach and Shoreline program, which we don't do every year. So going to be sharing with you some accomplishments we've made in the last year or two. Just to recap, the Beach and Shoreline Program is funded with 26.4% of the tourist tax revenue that's collected in Lee County. And some of the goals are listed here. Of course, shoreline nourishment, restoration is a big part of it, beach maintenance, emergency beach cleanup, and shoreline facility development. This is a slide that shows you the increase in the funding that's been allocated thanks to the increase in the tourist tax collections. Back in fiscal year 2000, we allocated about $3 million, and this year, current year, fiscal year 18, TDC allocated $8.3 million to beach and shoreline projects. There are 3 categories that agencies can request funding for projects. The big one, of course, is maintenance. Taking care of the almost 50 miles of beaches here in Lee County accounts for 47% of the total that the TDC's allocated since fiscal year 2000, which is $123 million. Capital improvement projects, and these projects sometimes take several years from design, permitting, and construction, and that accounts for 21% of that total that you've allocated. And beach nourishment, which again is probably one of the most important tasks that the program is accountable for, is 26%. So we're going to just want to share a couple of examples of projects in each of those categories. Since fiscal year 2000, the TDC's allocated $31.7 million to beach nourishment, and that program is primarily managed by Steve Boutel in the Lee County Natural Resources Department. We appreciate his efforts. Each year they request, and you'll see it in next year's request, $2.2 million, and that goes to the Beach Renourishment Trust Fund to primarily take care of the 6 eligible beaches that you see listed here. Over the past year and a half, most of the work that's been done with that funding has been monitoring, which is very important once you put sand on a beach to monitor it for a year or 2. But the one big project that they accomplished in 2017 was the Blind Pass dredging project. And that's a very important project to keep the pass open and flowing and, of course, navigable to smaller boats. There was 89.7 cubic yards of sand removed from the channel and then placed on the northern edge of Sanibel Island. And the cost of that project was $1.5 million. And this is just these are some of the slides of the work being done. Sanibel's beaches have incurred significant changes, and by placing the sand on the northern end of Sanibel, you're able to it shifts downwards from Bowman's even further south. So you can see at the top of the slide Blind Pass and how he's pumped the sand from the channel onto the beach. And it shifts naturally over the course of tides and whatnot. Here, this is a shot of Bonita Beach pre-Irma. So you can see they've been doing a lot of monitoring on that beach the past few years since the last nourishment. And this is typical of what a dune would look like. And because they survey so well, they can lean on that monitoring when there's storms. So here's a shot of the beach after Irma. The sand pushed up over the dune, but was held intact and was able to be placed back on the beach. So that's the job of a dune. That's why they're so important. Further south on Fort Myers Beach, Crescent Beach Family Park has a seawall. So when Irma hit, the sand couldn't wash over that seawall. It was pushed back out into the Gulf. So that resulted in 2 feet of beach being lost. You can see at the bottom of this slide the drop-off from what should be an ADA accessible walkway is not so accessible anymore. So this the Parks and Rec team and Natural Resources got together, and due to an emergency order from DEP, they were able to get a truck haul project started in early October, and it was complete by early December. And this was an interesting project. Steve really was pleased with the way it turned out. They brought in 154 truckloads of sand from Immokalee, a total of 3,200 tons, and that cost about $125,000. And that, again, came from that Beach Renourishment Trust Fund that he manages. So you can see this is the work being done, the pier in the background, and in all, I believe it was a very successful project. As far as capital projects, I just wanted to share a couple that we've completed recently. Since fiscal year 2000, you've allocated $25.7 million to capital improvements. Many of these projects, there's 16, I think, right now that are in the active status. That could be design, permitting, or actual construction taking place. So these projects don't get done in 1 year. They take some time. This is an example of one that got done pretty quickly. Lee County Department of Transportation wanted to enhance the Boca Grande 5th Street parking lot, and they came, I believe it was a mid-cycle request, and received $200,000 to do that. That parking lot now has 90 spaces, up from 49, an ADA boardwalk, and additional landscaping. There is just one tiny piece of the project that's left to do. You can see the walkway needs to be extended because, again, with the storms we had last year, there's been some erosion. So once they extend that walkway, that project will be complete. Another really good example of a simple project that's pretty impactful is a project that you funded through the Ding Dong Wildlife Society a year and a half ago, and this is the Perry Track Kiosk. And this was an interesting project. The Ding Dong owns the Perry Track, which is adjacent to Gulfside City Park, a City of Sanibel facility. And that facility receives over 100,000 visitors a year. They park and then they access our beach. So this is an example of a sign. Sometimes when you're doing your review of funding requests, you'll be asked to make a legislative finding that it's an enhancement to tourism. This is a perfect example of a sign that does that. It talks about dune protection, it talks about the habitat, and the 5 different species of sea turtle that may nest on our beaches. So I think it's a really good collaborative project, and you can see that should you visit that park. Bathhouse Park sits at the foot of Matlacha Bridge in Matlacha, and the county asked for funding a year and a half ago. Total project funding was $126.5. They were able to renovate an existing structure in that location, which now serves as a restroom. Matlacha Pier is very popular, and when they did that, they provided a seawall for additional spots for fishing, as well as some parking spots, which were much needed in that location. So it's another great project. Maintenance projects are ongoing. Again, that's the bulk of the funding that you provide to these municipalities and agencies that are managing our beaches. Here's a list of some of the agencies, municipalities that are receiving that funding. Since fiscal year 2000, you've funded $57.9 million in maintenance projects. And one of the more important ones, which we may need to dip into right now, is emergency beach cleanup. As you know, we've had a persistent event of red tide for probably 3 months now, and the southern beaches are being heavily affected right now. So having that emergency beach cleanup fund is very important. So we appreciate that. So to conclude, we have conducted our review, staff. I'd like to thank Steve Littell and especially Andrea Frazier, who gets to kick off her heels and put on her flip-flops because she actually does go visit some of the projects that are requesting funding. And we've been reviewing projects since early February. We're ready to turn them over to you so that you can review them and get ready for the Beach and Shoreline Workshop, which is on April 25th here in this room. There are a total of 21 project requests, and $9.6 million has been requested for next year. The estimated funding available is about $10.6 million. So you can look forward to getting an email from me very shortly, and I will be providing you access to view those 21 project requests, but more importantly, look at the documents that Lee County staff, the county attorney, the Coastal Advisory Council have provided for you in their assessment of the requests, because I think that's very helpful. So unless there's questions, I'm available as you're reviewing the projects. Again, we meet here on the 25th of April to actually make recommendations that the TDC will approve at their June meeting.
Renee?
Yes.
Refresh my memory, Nancy. On your allocations, your beach and shoreline allocations by year?
Yes.
In fiscal year 11, there was a huge spike up. It went from about 5 million up to 11 million and back down. What was it?
That was the purchase of Crescent Beach Park. $5 million was used to purchase Crescent Beach on Fort Myers Beach.
Thank you.
Great. I have a question. You're talking about the emergency cleanup that we're experiencing right now. I've got a lot of questions from the residents and visitors about that. Is that a daily cleanup? They're doing it at different parts of the beach? Is it weekly? What's the schedule? Do we know?
So the county, who manages the bulk of the beach parks, I mean, everybody that's taking care of beaches is out there every day cleaning up the beach. When it becomes too much for them to handle, we have a process in place where they can use a contractor to come and assist and actually haul away. I don't think it's gotten that bad yet, Kathy, but we do have a mechanism in place where they don't have to use the regular maintenance funding you've allocated for their day-to-day operation. They can dip into the emergency pot when the job gets too much for them to handle and lean on contractors or temporary labor.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And a lot of that is hauling away.
Right.
So hauling services and such, so they put it in a big pile, hauler comes in, collects the pile and takes it away. So we set those funds aside because we know the beach-going experience is very important to our visitors, and we want to make sure that it's as good as it can be.
We all see it making headline news. That's what I'm concerned about. You know, obviously the cleanup, but it's a 24-hour process. The fish are still washing up on shore due to the red tide. So we're doing it daily. We're keeping up, but there's still going to be some residue behind. So.
The staff does a great job, but sometimes it's too much for them to handle.
Another question here, Ross?
Sure. Yep. My question's kind of on the maintenance side for projects that we build that end up needing to be, they have a maintenance issue. How do you partner with, we have so much territory to cover for your small staff. How do you partner if, let's say somebody finds a ramp that's not ADA compliant because some sand washes out from it? Is that, do they know to contact you, or how do you hear about the problem?
So the staff that manages beaches are doing, inspections or status updates on their facilities on a regular basis. I ask for status updates whenever they are invoicing the VCB for reimbursement. And typically, there's always communication between our office and the beach park facilities, but they're assessing it, and they're getting ready for the funding cycle to open if they need to request. You've seen from time to time emergency requests, but it doesn't happen very often. Usually they're on top of it, they fix it. We also have some capital, some maintenance money going to Lee County Construction Facility, and they can also assist with that funding to fix things.
Thank you.
I will add, Rob, sometimes we have to remind them. I know I've been to a facility and seen something shut down and, talk to the beach manager like, hey, remember, if you have an emergency, come to us. That's why we have these funds. I mean, it's important to us that those facilities are, maintained. I mean, most of the municipalities have the ability to do that. Occasionally, some of our state and federal partners do not, have a budget or the opportunity, and they kind of get out of the cycle and forget that if they have a problem, they can come to us. So we try to keep those lines of communication very open. And of course, the beautiful thing is our staff is out showing people we're welcoming to the destination, all these facilities, and sometimes we see that. But for the most part, I don't think it's an issue that they know we're here and they know we're here to help.
Great. Thank you.
All right, with that, I'm going to bring up Brian to give you a marketing update.
Good morning, Mr. Commissioner, members of council. I'm Brian Osowski, Marketing Director for the VCB. The last time we had the opportunity to present you or give you a marketing update was in December when we were over at Pinchers. If you recall, the CEO of MMGY Global, our agency, was there and sort of gave you a state of the industry overview. Today, since we're halfway through the fiscal year, I'd like to go through some of our goals and the results for three major areas: web, social media, and paid media. First, we'll start with website. This is a new Islandology landing page on our website. Islandology currently is our new brand creative that, of course, many of you have already heard about. So for the website, I won't go through all these goals with you. Everything is pacing as expected. You see our e-news opt-ins there for FY18, a goal of 25,000. Actuals through March, 6,100. So pacing to goal, we're a little bit behind because you would naturally assume that halfway through the year, we should be about halfway through the goal. The thing about this particular category is our summer promotion really drives a lot of e-news opt-ins through our website because of the traffic that our website gets. So I had a note there that about 13,000 e-newsletter opt-ins came in last summer, so we expect the same thing to happen in the summer of 2018. Everything else is doing pretty well. Average time on site is where we expect it to be. And then one of the things I'm really proud about is partner referrals. Our goal for the year was to have 1 in 5 people who visit the website go to a partner landing page or click through to a partner website. Right now through March, we are at 33%. 1 in every 3 visitors sees partner information for the destination. That's 13% ahead of goal. For social media, we track everything in marketing, right? The number of fans on our channels, Facebook and Twitter. You see a big number there for Instagram. We're already at 53% to goal, which is 9,000 new followers. Instagram is the hottest social media channel right now. And correct me if I'm wrong, Courtney, I think we just surpassed 30,000 followers on social, which is great. I mean, on Instagram, rather. 3 more social media metrics. Social is driving website referrals. Our goal, 100,000. We're already at 72%. Pretty lofty goal with social media engagements at 3 million and impressions at 120 million. But again, a lot of those we expect to come in over the summer season. Marketing team focuses a lot on video. We are producing more video now than ever before. We had our video team in and produced 6 new Islandology social shorts for us. And then just last week they were in shooting to produce 6 more. I'd like to share with you quickly 2 of those social shorts. Basically, we used to produce videos called the Island Finding series. They were 2 to 3 minutes in length, but the attention span is too hard to hold people's attention span anymore for 2 to 3 minutes, so we found that 40 seconds is sort of the sweet spot. These were produced social first, so you'll see that the ratio is 1 to 1. Sorry about the audio. The nice thing about these are that when you're going through your social feed, you don't always have the volume up. Through the text overlays, you can have your volume up. Have a shout out on Lover's Key, promoting couples travel to the destination. And here's one more.
We promise the audio is better than what you're hearing. Sorry.
So one of our primary audience segments are what we call the Snap Happy segment. Obviously this is focused, no pun intended, on photographers who love to come to the destination to capture the destination's beauty. Lastly, I want to talk to you about our paid media goals and how we're pacing. We've taken an always-on marketing approach this year. Many of you have heard me talk about that. It used to be where we would have a lot of highs and lows throughout the season, and we still have a little of that spring into summer, but really the main difference is our big fall push. So you see our goals for paid impressions, 710 million. We're already at 32% to goal, 46% of where we were last year, because of the additional efforts that we made in fall. Inquiries are way up, and leads, you see another big negative red number there. 275,000 is our goal. We're about 27% to goal. The difference year over year is that in December of last year, we had a big holiday campaign that yielded 87,000 leads, and we didn't have that particular campaign run this year. So just to highlight some of the bigger picture media campaigns that we have running, we have a partnership with National Geographic Traveler, again, targeting our Snap Happy photography segment. It's co-branded digital and social, includes a sweepstakes for 2 to the destination, and what's really cool, a photo tour with a National Geographic Traveler photographer. As of April 5th, over 100,000 entries, and you see 13,000 e-newsletter opt-ins. This is what the landing page on the Nat Geo Traveler website looks like. Really like this. This is an Allegiant Air regional co-op. Last year, for the first time, we partnered with Charlotte County and Collier County and Allegiant Airlines for a spring into summer campaign. This year, we got Sarasota County on board, as well as Visit Florida. It's about a $250,000 push, targeting 4 markets: Providence, Rhode Island, which is the Boston market for Allegiant, Cleveland, Milwaukee, and Pittsburgh. Campaign includes radio, native, social, and digital display. And, visitors don't know necessarily where county lines are, so we go in together, leverage our budget with one another, and under the brand of the beaches and islands of Southwest Florida. There on the right, you see Sunseeker, the cover of Sunseeker magazine. That's the April-May issue. That magazine is on all of the Allegiant flights. Pass that around if you want to see the actual magazine. And a 6-month integrated package with a FAR. I won't go through all of these, but basically we get a travel guide on the AFAR website, Instagram takeovers, 3 full-page ads in the AFAR printed magazine, email, social, banner ads. I really love these packages because basically we're taking advantage of every opportunity that this particular publication offers. An estimated 6 million impressions over the course of 6 months. So, right now, we are in the prime inspiration and booking season for summer travel. We typically choose 4 markets outside of the state to run radio in. We, of course, will be running in-state radio spots as we get closer to summer. But this year, our 4 markets, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Columbus, and Indianapolis, we are addressing these markets directly. In other words, in the past, we've had generic radio spots that can run in any market, and now we're speaking directly to the folks in each of those direct flight markets. Amanda's going to play 2 versions of our radio spots for you now. Hopefully the sound's a little better.
On the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel, Islandology is our way of life. But what's Islandology? It's hearing instead of. And it's where sounds like. And with direct flights from Cincinnati, you can go from to in just a few hours. Plan your trip at FortMyersSanibel.com.
And the second version, I think we're using Cleveland as the example.
Islandology is our way of life on the beaches of Fort Myers and Sanibel. But what's Islandology? It's where sounds like. It's listening to instead of. And with direct flights from Cleveland, you can go from to in less than a few hours. Plan your trip at FortMyersSanibel.com.
Thanks, Amanda. We're also running brand TV spots in 11 markets, the same time frame, now through April 22nd. You can see those markets there. These are our Islandology pairs, 2 30-second versions running in each market. So just some upcoming marketing activities. Again, the Lee County Travel Rally is all hands on deck. June 3rd, we go up to Minneapolis and have Lee County Day at Target Field with a consumer activation. June 21st is National Seashell Day. This year we're doing something really fun. We are attempting a Guinness World Record out on Fort Myers Beach behind the outrigger for the world's largest human image of a seashell. Basically what that is, in October of 17, Shell Oil Company employees, actually owners of gas stations in Turkey, assembled for a team building event, and 855 of them got together in the shape of a shell. It was photographed from a drone. Guinness was on hand and said, this is the world's largest human image of a seashell. We are the seashell capital of the world. We can do better than that, so we're going to go out onto the beach, do the same thing, and break a record that the poor shell folks just set in October. We will have a sales and marketing meeting. We'll keep our social media boot camp going in August, date to be determined. You see Island Hopper on there, and then November 15th, at the Westin Cape Coral Resort, our Team Tourism Annual Sales and Marketing Summit. So that's all I had. Does anybody have any questions?
Any questions for Brian? Great. Great news. Thanks for the
As many of you know, we have a resident artist program that allows us to keep a steady flow of new photos and videos coming into the marketing department. One of the benefits that the resident artist has is to come speak to you about his experience with the VCB. And Shane Wolf is here with us today. He's the owner of Home Focus, a Fort Myers-based real estate photography company. And I just wanted to read a quick snippet from his artist statement from his resident artist application. I think residents of Southwest Florida often forget just how beautiful our area is, a true hidden gem. My approach to capturing Southwest Florida accentuate what we already do best: sunsets, beaches, and travel life. I love it here and think I have what it takes to capture exactly what it means to be a Southwest Floridian. Well, he definitely had exactly what it takes, because as he comes up, Shane, I invite you up to come speak with you for a couple of minutes. I will, in the background, run some of the photos that we are benefiting from. So, Shane?
Good morning. So my name is Shane Wolf. I am a local real estate photographer. I'll just start out by saying that this was really a phenomenal opportunity. I think it's pretty cool that there's, our leaders in Southwest Florida are invested in local photographers and are willing to help, monetarily help us out too. So in some sense, there's a big mutual benefit. I'm able to kind of do what I already love to do, and, I got supported a little bit along the way. So that was really just it's a great experience, and I'm really thankful. I grew up here, and my dad was a professional photographer, so I've always had a camera in my hands, and this is really my style of photography. I tend to stay away from portrait stuff. I really like to capture scenic stuff, and so when they asked me to do this, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely like, this is what I want to do. This is my stuff. It's my little sister right there. And but anyway, so one of the elements to it was that I really needed to try to capture life happening in Southwest Florida. I didn't want to just capture a great sunset, because you can pretty much go on Instagram and see a million of those anyway. So one of the challenges for me was to get outside of my sort of, just capturing, scenes and really incorporate more of a living element to the photos. And so that was really one of my challenges in this experience was, getting outside of my norm and stretching my skill level a little bit. So even just for that, it's been really a tremendous experience. Even the fact that I do real estate photography, you can only shoot a house so many times before you get a little bit sick of it. So this was a lot of fun, and I'm really, really grateful for the opportunity. So yeah, I guess that's all I have.
So just a few more comments about the VCB's experience working with Shane. We tried to guide our resident artists. We don't want to say, hey, go shoot this or go shoot that. We say, here are some of our need areas, and through your lens, provide us with your perspective. And we had a really difficult time with Shane picking the number of photos that we contracted him for, but he did just a fantastic job. I really like these these photos, especially this last one. That says it all, doesn't it?
It's all boy. It's all boy.
All right, thanks, everyone. That's all I've got.
Thanks, Brian.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Done?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Move on to new business. We have a request for reallocation of TDC funds. And I think Judy was going to take this opportunity to address this.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the TDC. Before I start, just want to report we're doing our part to provide some worldwide exposure to the destination, and just completed our second season as the location of choice for a respite for the Vice President of the United States. That was a very well done event. He and his staff very pleased with how it functioned and his stay and the quality of the stay. And every day he was there, it was forecasted for rain, and it never did rain, so they think we control that as well. But it was a wonderful experience for us, and we're very proud to be their location of choice for the week that they would like to take off the books once a year. So that's the best I can report on that visit. And the second is our request in front of you this morning, and it's a very simple request for previously reallocated dollars of TDC from one project that's been already approved for TDC to a separate project that's been a TDC project. We find a high desirability for restrooms at the beach facilities. It's something that we get excellent comments on if you look at TripAdvisor or any of our comment cards, et cetera. We do maintain our bathrooms, and they're open 365 days a year, just like our beaches are. And we do our best to maintain them and have them as a good representation of the world quality beaches that we have. They're not opulent. We actually use fixtures that are industrial or the type that are used in prisons because of the high usage they get, but we do work very hard to keep them very clean. And it's when we don't have bathrooms where people need them, it's one of the elements that people ask for the most. And if you've ever taken a child to the beach, you know how important it is to have restrooms where you need them. So this is a request to take money that had been allocated to a project at Bowman's that cannot be permitted or constructed, and we don't want to have those funds languish. The other thing we know about construction in Southwest Florida, we're seeing with all our projects, but particularly when you're trying to build a project of this size out on a barrier island, any delay just will cause further construction costs in the current economic climate, particularly dealing with construction. So it's not new funds, it's reallocating funds already appropriated. We also answered a number of questions for the staff, and I believe the county staff has signed off on the review as well.
Any questions or not entertain a motion?
I'll move that the reallocation be approved.
A motion?
Second.
Have a second? Any other discussion? Any objection? No objection, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you. And next is 2018-19 Events Marketing Subcommittee nomination. Nancy's going to address this. We need a volunteer.
This is just a simple request. The Events Marketing Funding Program cycle is open for requests. It will close on April 27th. And I believe Amanda's going to put the timeline up. We typically have 5 members on that committee. Right now we have Pamela Cronin as chair, Colleen DePasquale, Bill Wachoulis, and Fran Myers, and there is 1 vacancy. So I just wanted to check in to see if the TDC would like to fill that vacancy so we can have 5 people. They will stay after the June TDC meeting to review to discuss the request. I will, of course, share the funding request 2 weeks in advance of that date. So just looking to see if you want 1 more person on that committee. Yes.
Renee?
If willing, I would nominate Holly. She's got a nice background in hospitality and government. It might be something that she could contribute.
Great.
I'd be happy to accept. I don't know if you need a second on a nomination.
I'll second it.
Rob, second it. Throw the new girl under the bus. Thank you. Welcome to your first meeting. I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion, any other nominations? No other nominations? Is there any objection? No objection. Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Holly, for your service.
Welcome.
And for any council information?
There's a few things in your packet for your reading pleasure, but otherwise no additional items.
just want to remind everybody about Chrysalis. I know we've said it about 10 times, but we'll say it one more time. Chrysalis coming up next Thursday. If you're not registered, please register. We'd love to have you there.
Great. Thank you. We'll go around to TDC members. Pamela, do you have anything for us?
I do not.
Thank you. Councilman Carriosha?
I have nothing, thank you.
Renee?
Can't think of anything exciting to tell you today.
Okay. Thank you. Anybody here? Glenn, do you have anything? Bill?
Just a big thank you for the extra tram on the Fort Myers Beach. It was well received. It was full every day.
Yeah, I heard great reviews from that.
Saw yesterday in action.
Yes.
Well used.
Yes, yeah.
All the guests are happy then, right?
Very.
Good. Sir?
We have 2 dates to remind everybody of. One is this Saturday, April 14th. FGCU's Wonderlust is going to be held at Grandiza, so if you haven't already gotten tickets to attend Wonderlust and be able to bid on some incredible travel packages and benefit the school, tickets are still available, and it's a Cuban, it's called Cuban cocktail attire, so you can have fun with your cigars and Cuban hats. And then also the first annual Florida Restaurant Lodging Association FGCU Charity Golf Classic event is going to be on May 18th at the Raptor Bay Golf Club, which benefits FGCU's hospitality program as well as the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association's Pro Start Culinary program. So if you can support that, either by coming out and playing or any businesses that want to do any donations for raffles or prizes, we accept it all. So thank you, and see you at those events hopefully.
Could you, I knew about the golf tournament, I cannot find the information. Can you, if you have it, can you send it to me?
I can.
Because I wasn't sponsor that. Thank you. Councilwoman Holly?
I'm just pleased to be a part of this council, and I look forward to working with everyone. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anything?
Yeah, for those of you that have been on the council with me for a while, I always seem to try to uncover a negative aspect of the numbers. And it might be because I always think that if it's a good season that the shoe's about to fall off and it's going to be a bad season. But I do think that we should take this time to just celebrate an incredible start to this year. I mean, this is over a pretty big year last year, and when you see those double-digit increases on the biggest months, just credit to the VCB staff. It was an awesome start. Thank you very much.
Definitely team effort. If there's nothing else, I guess we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thank you. Everybody have a safe holiday, or safe month.
All right.
They're not all.
You will.
The dog too.